Hello and welcome to Pattern Making with Let Morris. Hope you're doing well. Today's lesson will be showing you how to make the pattern for this design. That's the front over there. There's front and that's the back. So we'll be doing this design today. It's got quite a bit to it, so it'll probably take us about 2 to 3 shooting of this, making the pattern, how to make the pattern, because I love to go through it step by step so that you'll be able to follow and be able to do it for yourself. So I trust that you're all well, and we're at a new week this week. I hope everything will go well for you and you'll continue to keep safe. So here we go. We're going to get started. And if you come along with me, so this is the design of the dress that we will be doing. That's the back here, and that's the front. It's got a little cap sleeve, and it's got an opening, and just a straight long sleeve. It's got a band going across the bodies, and it's got a skirt which has got gathers in the center. It's got like a cawl shaping at both sides, on the back as well, as you can see. And we're going to put about 3 pleats at the back, some knife pleats at the back, and we've got darts going up and the band a zip in the back. So that's basically the design that we'll be doing today. So if you just come along with me and we just begin. And here we go. These are the pattern pieces that we need, which are the blocks from which we start. As I said, have you been following me or coming with me on this journey? That we always start. This is pattern cutting, pattern making from the block, and we do everything from the block so that we can always go back to the block to see what we've done wrong and how we can correct it. And once we have a pattern, we know that we're good and all ready to go. So here we go. A sheet of paper, you use a spot across or plain paper or brown paper, greaseproof paper, whatever paper you have at hand to use. So, and you've got your tools, your scissors, your pencil, tracing wheel, your curve, sharpeners, because if your pencil go blunt, you need to sharpen them. So those are some of the tools that you need. So the blocks that we're going to be using, it's a front block, the back bodies block, extended one we're going to use, and the sleeve. So we're going to start off by tracing off. We put the sleeve one side because we do the sleeves later on. Let's start with the bodies. So we trace off the bodies, the front and back. We've got the extended block here, but we only want it to go to the waist. So we're just going to trace off just from the waist section all the way around the waist, putting in the darts as per usual, balance mark, and then we can put our block away and then connect up the points, which I've done already. Transfer the darts on, and this is your center front, and we do exactly the same. We trace around, put the darts in, and we can put our blocks away because we don't need them anymore. We've got it transferred on the paper what we need. So this is where we start. So what we're going to do is we have our drawing in front of us, so we know exactly what we're doing. So we're going to create the style lines on there, the band that is going across the waist, and we're going to do the same thing on the back. So we start off with the front bodies, and first of all we're going to create the neckline that we want, because this is a basic round neckline. So we're going to take it away. If we look at the drawing, because you always got your drawing next to you, I'm going to just leave it on there so that we know what we're doing. So we've got it's cut away a bit from the actual original neckline, so we're going to take it and drop it a little bit. So that is our neckline. So first of all we create that in. So you go in this depends on you, how far in you want your neckline to be. But in this case, I'm just going to take it over to there, and I'm just going to curve it back. I'm going to drop it from the center front here downwards. So I'm just going to mark on my new line here that I want, and I'm just going to curve it in. You do that with your curve. You can get your curve and just get a nice curved line on there. So, and you just follow it round. Follow your curve so you get a nice curve into there. So that's your curve line that we've got there. So you've now created the neckline. So the next thing I'm going to do is to create the band that we want across the, from the waist. And that is the band here. So that depends on you as well, how deep you want that band to be. In this case, I'm going to do it at 2.5 inches. So I'm going to measure up 2.5 inches, and I'm going to take the band across from the waist, because this line here is the waistline. So 2.5 inches up, I want that band to be, and I measure it all the way along, 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches till you come across to the front, center front. So this is your center front. So what I'm going to do now is just square a little line out, and I'm going to follow those shapes that I've just marked on there right across like that. So I'm going to shade this in. This is now my band that I want on my dress that I've designed. So once I've got that, I've got to trace off this section here because I don't want the dart in, and I'm going to trace off this section here. All I want here is this dart here that's going here, so I'm going to transfer that dart into here. So what I'm going to do before I do that, I'm going to mark on the back as well exactly the same amount, 2.5 up from the waist, and I've put a mark and I've taken it all the way along, 2.5, 2.5, and I'm going to take it 2.5, 2.5 all the way to the center back, and then I'm just going to square a line from the center back across there, and I'm going to take it right to here, follow that round down to there. So that is my line. So these here I'm going to transfer off because I'm going to close the dart out here because I don't want any dart in my band. I want a straight curved band in there. So once I've got that now, all I do is I'm going to cut out that shape, or what you can do is trace off, or get another sheet of paper and trace off the section that you want. So we want this section here, and we want this section to be traced off, and this section here to be separate, but I'm going to cut them out. So if we cut out, you've got to remember that this is your center front. So I'm just going to cut out on this line, and I'm going to cut out on the line that I've drawn on here. That's my new neckline. And we've got to make sure that we've got it on the back as well. So whatever measurement you've got here, you've got to measure out from the neck point there. And I've taken that out 1 inch. So I'm going to take that out also 1 inch. So from there, I'm going to go 1 inch to there. And I'm going to, if you notice on the back of the design, we have got like a slight V, so I'm going to come down. That depends on how deep you want your V to be at the back. So I'm just going to come down that much on there. I'll tell you, measure it and tell you how much it is. So 2.5 roughly, or 3. You can come down lower if you want, and I'm just going to connect a straight line there from that point to that point there. So that is my neckline for the back. You can take that down lower if you want. It just depends on how low you want it. So I'm just going to continue cutting out the neck shape here, along the shoulders. And I'm going to go around the armhole. And down the side. So I'll just put the balance marking so we've got that on there. And I'm going to just cut out along the side and along the waistline. So I've got the piece, pattern piece now separated, and I'm going to do exactly the back, the same for the back. So I'm going to cut that out. If you didn't want to cut out, you could just trace out these pieces on another sheet of paper, but I'll just cut it out so that you can see it a bit more clearer. And I'm going to cut down where I've got this neckline here, and I'm going to go down the back like that. And once I've got that, take that paper away, and along the bottom as well, down the waist, this is the waistline here, and along the side. So we cut that all out. So now we've got our pieces separated. So now that we've got our pieces separated, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the bands for this garment first before I do anything. So because this is on the fold, I am going to fold my paper. So we move the back out the way for a minute. I'm going to fold my paper like that, get a fold edge, which is here, and I'm going to place my pattern piece on the edge of the paper. So I've got my center front on the edge of the fold, and with your tracing wheel, I'm going to trace on that line that I've marked. I'm going to trace along the dart line here, and I'm just going to put in, drawing the waist measure, waist line. So once I've done that, I am going to get rid of the dart that I've got in there. That's a dart, I don't want that. In order to do that, I'm going to put that line, this line here to this line. So because I'll just mark it in so that you see the line that I've traced off and across the front here. So now you take your pattern paper draft and you place that line on top of that line. Make sure you look underneath to see that it's on the line exactly like that. So that line is touching that line like that, like that. So once we've got that line touching, you place a weight on your pattern piece so it doesn't move, and you then mark out that line across there with your tracing wheel, and you do the bottom and the side like that. So once you've got that, now you can see the shape has changed. We've now got this shape here on it. So what we're going to do is, with our curve, we're going to get a nice curve shape touching there and touching the front. So you just curve that around like that, and you also curve the bottom, so you get a nice continuous curve shape in there. So we're getting that. So now that you've got that, you just add your seam allowance on there, which is 1 centimeter. So we just come around there, centimeter, again, nice curve, and then you add your centimeter on the sides of the band. This is now your band that we're making, creating the pattern for. And then you also do 1 centimeter around the waist of your band along there. So that is now your pattern shape that we've got here for the band. So I'll just mark on the seam allowance so that you can see it a bit more clearer. So that is your seam allowance here on the bottom and up the side of your band. So once you've got that, you got to write on there, cut 1, and this is your front band. And you can also, to make, if you want it to be stiff or firm, depending on what fabric you use, you can also put fusing in that. So that is your band. So the next thing we do now is the back. So we don't need to put that on the fold. What we need to do is to put a straight line on our paper like that, and we're going to place that band onto the paper, the straight edge like that, and we do the same thing like we did the front. We're going to mark the bottom to the first section of the dart, and we trace along there also, and we trace down the side of the dart like that. And then we're going to place the other side of the dart onto that line that we've just checked. You check underneath to make sure that that line is touching that line that you have just traced on. So once that's touching, all you do is just continue to mark from that point all the way along up the side, and all you do is just trace at the top of that line that you have created. So once you've done that, you've got that new shape here, and then you just connect up the lines, and you also do the same thing on the bottom. So what you can do is also do a nice curve at the bottom there. So you get a nice curve in there, slight curve, not as curvy as the front. So once you've got that, you've got to add your seam allowance at the centre back, because we want to put a zip in there. So you add your centimetre, and you add your centimetre at the top, because you need a centimetre seam for that. And at the waist, we put a centimetre again. Follow the shape. And at the side, we need a centimetre. And before we cut out the back, after you cut the front out, we've got to check to make sure that the side seam match. So this is now your grain line, and this is your back. This is your back, and you're going to cut two of those. You can write band. Right, so that's your pattern piece for your bands. We've just created these pieces by eliminated the darts. We've taken out the darts out of there. So these are your pieces. You then just cut them out, and then you check to make sure that the side seam matches. They should match if you've done it correctly. So those are those bits. So the next thing we're going to do is to do the top half, which is the body section. So we're going to do this top half now, the front, and we're going to do the back. So with our drafts, we've still got our drafts. I always start with my front. I'm going to fold my paper. Once again, I'm going to fold that. And I'm going to place that on the fold edge. And you've got to remember, I don't want that dart on there, so I'm going to transfer that into there. So if you remember how we transfer the dart, I'm going to mark from that point of the darts. So I'm going to trace that bit there. And I'm going to mark all the way around to the darts on under the arm. So I'll go around the neckline and across the shoulder, around the armhole, as per usual. Put my balance mark in, and I'm going to go to the top of that dart right there and stop. Once I've got that, I'm going to close the dart like this. Make sure you've got a pencil in there, and then you pivot the dart, that other line of the dart, up to that one that you've marked there. So the dart is no more at the side. So the dart is in here now. So we then going to mark from this section here from this point out to there and up there. So I'm going to trace on that line so it comes through, and I'm going to go up there, right? So now my dart is getting bigger at the waist. That's what I want. So once you've done that, you can move that away, and we're going to make sure that we've got the dart shape in. So we're going to mark from there all the way around. Make sure you've got your marking. Mine wasn't showing on there, so we've got it there. So I'll just put my prodder in, so we've got the dart position, and I'm just going to show you that move again. We're transferring the dart from there, from the side, into here. So pencil in, you mark all the way around your pattern piece, round the neck, round the shoulders, round the armhole to that point. You stop, then you put your pencil or the prodder in, and then you push the dart out like that way round, like that, and then you continue to mark from the end of that dart there all the way down to where that seam comes, and then you just mark across that point there, and you've got that in. So that is now your new dart, and that is your dart shape. So what we do is, what's happening, this dart here is getting bigger because we've transferred it into there. So you then connect up your new dart. That's it, there to there. You haven't got it in the side anymore, and then you connect up these lines that you have transferred onto your new sheet of paper. So as you can see, the dart is getting bigger along there. This one's narrower. We've now transferred the dart into there. And before we do anything, I'm going to shorten this dart by 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch down from that point, because I don't want the dart to finish right on that nipple point. So I'll go back 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch down and reshape the dart. So now this is my new shape dart. So that's my balance mark. So what I do now is just add my seam allowance on there, which is a centimetre. I hope you're finding these lessons useful to you, and you have been trying them. Centimetre around the armhole, and with your curve you just curve it in if you haven't got a good steady hand. Centimetre along there, and around the neck we just put 1/4 of an inch around our neckline, like that. So once we got that, we can just curve that round the armhole, a nice curve up to there, and round the neckline, 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and then we just cut out the shape. So make sure we cut that before you cut it on that side. You make sure you cut it away so you can fold your dart out, so you can get a good shape on your bodies. So you're going to fold back on the dart line there, as we always do. I like to do that to make sure we get a nice lovely run along that line. So that's your dart shaping in there, and you can trace on that line or you can cut out. I like to cut out on that line, so I'll get a good run like that. Then I open out, and then as you can see, that line is slightly broken down, and then it goes up. So then you just finish cutting out. This is the top half of your dress at the front, and that's how we create the pattern piece for it. So, you know, you might say, oh, why can't I just cut that out freehand? But I guarantee if you cut that out freehand, you won't get the fit because you have not made a block to fit your body. You know, you'll come up against a lot of problems. So that again, I make sure that that notch is in with your notcher, because that is your balance mark for the front. And you then open out and make sure that the dart is in on this side, so you can just draw them in because it's there already and it's here. And then we just put a grain line here for your center, and you can use that for your grain line like that. And this is now your front body. This is your front, and we're going to cut one of those. That's your front bodies. And then you just do the same thing for your back. We're going to copy off that section here as well again. So we copy that off. Make sure we've got a straight line on our paper. We're going to copy off the new neckline that we've got on there. Longer shoulders. Put our grain line in. We're going to use this line as our grain line after we put the seam. So we come down and we're going to trace off this dart, because that's the dart we're going to use for the back. So we're going to come to that point, and we're going to come to that point, and then we're going to put our dart in there and there. And then we can move our pattern away. We draw, connect up our darts, put our balance marks in, and we just add our seam allowance. So we got centimetre down the back, and we're going to use this line for the grain line, and we're going to come along there and come along there, and then we add the seam allowance for the waist on there. We got to check to see that the side seam, the shoulder seam all matches up before we cut out, and then we add our centimetre seam allowance around the armhole and down the side. So we come along there, one centimetre along there, and then at the shoulder centimetre, don't forget to add that. That's only if you haven't got it on your block already. If you put it in on your block, then you don't need to add them. So that is your centimetre. And then on the back neck, we only need 1/4 of an inch. So you come down there. So now this is your back. And you're going to cut 2 of those. So that is the back. Then we check, as I said before, you check that your side seam matches, and they've got to match up on there, and you check that your shoulders are matching on there. So that is your body's done. We'll cut those out, and we'll come back to that after we've done the sleeve. So there we go. We've done the body part of this dress. We've done the back, and we've done the front, and we've also done the band. So we've done all this section here, and we've done all this section here. We're going to come back, and we're going to be doing the sleeve here. The next time we come back, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back to do the sleeves. See you soon. Bye.